Hey, everybody, and welcome out to Monday night. I am Dan Carpenter. John is not with me tonight, but I think I have brought along a few elves of my own. And who knows, we might even have a few more that might be joining us sooner or later. We've got Howie, we've got Joel, Scott, JC, and a few other people that might chime in. They're not on camera, so who knows? They might or may not choose to partake in tonight. But tonight we decided we'd have some fun. In case you did not get a chance to check out John's show or even Mitch's show earlier, this is the Chill Room, for those of you that are not familiar with it. And the way the Chill Room works is you get to come in and have fun and talk to other DJs and see what they're up to. Sometimes we have a topic. Sometimes it's just to kind of, chill and relax and kind of get some of the stressors off of our back. But tonight, I do have a little bit of a topic, one in particular that we're going to talk about. And if we go from there, who knows? All right. But if you guys did not see the topic for tonight, it is, what is one gear that you are hoping that Santa or his equivalent of whatever you might happen to believe will bring you this year? All right. So I'm going to give you guys a few moments to think about that. Because there's a lot of directions you could go with this. So we'll start with one, and then maybe we can branch it out to a couple others. Mine in particular would be a case that is not going to break my back. Okay, this has been a topic of mine, I think, probably for the last 4 or 5 years when we've done this. The question is, what is one thing you would love to have? That is my one thing. I do understand that the cases have to be sturdy enough, and in order for them to be sturdy enough, they've got to weigh a lot. All right, or you get the soft cases, which really basically do nothing. I would love to have a case that I could have pre-wired with everything that's not going to weigh 10 times as much as the controller does.
I like that idea, and it's interesting that you either have soft or you have the industrial plywood and metal. Why not that blow mold plastic like they do with let's say the Pelican cases for controllers?
Well, there are the SKBs, but they're not. You're right. They're not the kind of the full. They're more of like an amp rack style for the SKB ones.
Right.
But, it would be nice for them to have something. MJ said he talked to some manufacturers one time and was just like, why? Like, I don't need something that I could have an elephant stand on and not do any damage. Like, there's got to be something in between. And they basically said it came down to a liability issue, that they couldn't create something that would protect and yet be lightweight enough without having to worry about cracking and then be held liable if something breaks inside. Where with soft cases, what you're getting. Like, there's no protection there. It's just a transportation, and you got to be careful. I'm still not buying it. I feel like there's got to be something. Like, there's got to be a way that they could do it.
I'm just, as an idea guy, I'm thinking, BS. I could make that.
Well, I'm sure we could make it. I mean, that would be the other thing is like, what materials could we use to create this? Because obviously you do need the plywood that's going to be thick enough that's not going to warp on you, but yet it would also, be strong. And then you have your corners and everything else out of aluminum the way they do it. Like,
well, I mean, there are. I think it's what is it? They call it the price point. I'm sure. They do it for the space shuttle and everything else. They make it carbon fiber, and it's very lightweight and very strong, and you can stand an elephant on it. But is somebody going to pay $1,000 for a case? It's basically the same price as their controller. Probably not.
But if Santa were to bring it to me, then it's a whole different ball game, right?
That's different.
Because the elves make it, and it doesn't cost anything.
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So let's go. I'm just going to kind of go around. We're going clockwise. So for me, Howie, that would mean you're next.
Oh, well then. I have.
And Joel, you're up on deck.
I've made a commitment that I wouldn't buy anything until I had events that would justify the cost. But there is one thing. If the week before Christmas, the solid state hard drives drop down in price like around $90, because they're going for about 120, 130, then I would get that 1 terabyte hard drive. And what I did in preparation for that was that I bought, because I have Asus computers, and now I don't know if anybody doesn't know, a lot of the newer lightweight computers that are under 3 pounds are using the M2 solid state sticks in them. And they're expensive if you want to get a 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte. They're like the chewing gum stick that sticks in. But they're leaving that bay open inside that used to have the 2.5-inch SATA. Now I have this in a caddy, and this is my backup for Serato, so I can use it on either of my machines. I have 2 identical computers, but the one computer does not have anything in that bay. So for $12, I bought this kit, and this is rubber, and this part here is what will plug into the SATA drive, this plastic part. And little known to a lot of people, on the motherboard right here on the very end, can you see the blue tip?
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of ribbon cables like this. There is an attachment that'll go in. It's much same thing as like plugging in a USB stick. You lift that little white tab up, slide that ribbon cable in, snap it down. It's connected to the hard drive. I will take this rubber, it comes with screws, and there's screw holes that would go through the hard drive, and then it would act as a bumper and take up that space that's left vacant inside the computer. And I could have a 2 terabyte on board and not have to carry this around except as a backup. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have to have it connected, in other words. So that is what I would like Santa to do, is to lower the price from $130 to $90.
Or maybe just bring you the drive and call it a day.
Or maybe some company out there would say, we really like this guy, let's send him one.
There you go. All right, Joel, what are you hoping to get?
A wireless mic is on the top of my wish list.
Okay.
That's where I'm at now, is I need a good quality wireless microphone for my rig.
Do you have any particular ones that you've kind of been eyeing, like any brands or any like models that it kind of stand out to you?
It'd be a Shure or Sennheiser.
Okay.
That would be fine.
Good choice.
Okay.
But it would have to be a good quality. It's not a low end. It'd have to be a good quality mic with a nice battery system and everything. So I'd like a dual wireless, but that's a little bit beyond what I need at this time. But a single wireless would do just fine.
Are you using any wireless at this point?
No.
Okay.
All I have is a Shure 58 wired microphone on my rig, and I've purchased a facade and speakers this year. So the next thing I need is a wireless mic.
Yeah.
And then after that would be a mixer to go with it, but the wireless mic would be the starting point.
I would agree. You're gonna find the flexibility that you have. Having that is going to be tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a wireless that I used for toasts and stuff like that. When I got first started, it was like a Gemini, and then everything else that I had was corded. Actually, I take that back. My first was a gooseneck. Like the mixer board that I had, like the 19-inch mixer board, had a gooseneck mic, and that was my mic.
Yeah.
And then I got to the point where like I upgraded and stuff, and I got a wireless for me and a wireless that I use for toasts or guests and stuff like that. And oh my gosh, like, I'm standing by the board. It doesn't matter. I'm using a wireless. Like it's just, there's no cords to get tangled up. Tear downs quicker. So yeah, that's awesome though. I hope Santa brings it to you, because like I said, you will be very, very pleased with that. I guarantee it. And especially the companies you're talking about. I would throw even the EV RE2s into the mix if you haven't looked at them.
I haven't worked with the EV. I've worked with the Sennheisers and the Shures with other DJs that I work with. I haven't seen an Electro Voice wireless mic yet, but it'd be worth checking out.
So I had the RE2s. I liked them. I ended up having to get a new. I had to end up having to go a different direction because my band that I bought my RE2s in was 600, and so I had to go. 600. Had to go to 500.
600.
And so I was just like, all right, fine. The only downside, the only thing I don't like about the RE2s is the handheld is plastic. So it makes it lightweight, but it also it feels plastic. But it's a very high quality mic, does a great job on everything with it. EV is tremendous when they knew what they were doing with the technology. But I like that metal feel, and that's why I stuck with the Sennheiser.
I agree with that. I borrowed my brother and my nephews brought a Shure wireless, and it had a plastic case, and it was cracked, so it was coming off, and I was constantly back on again. So yeah, need the good quality mic that's going to stand up.
I will tell you, the metal will crack too. It's not because I had somebody drop mine one time, and the case that went around the battery snapped.
We need to talk to the manufacturers about the indestructible mic that can do the mic drop.
Well, mine wasn't a purposeful mic drop. It was, but
carbon fiber microphone.
There we go.
An 8-foot drop.
You know what? We're going to make the next DJ company right here. We're going to make the DJ manufacturing company. Everything's going to be carbon fiber. We're going to have a price point so outrageous that only the best of the best will be able to afford it, but it'll be the best of the best.
Yep.
Well, there will have to be a plastic bottom, even if you have a metal bodied mic, and that is purely for the antenna. That's where the antenna is, because it'll go through the plastic. But like, because I have, the Shure SM58 I've had for, well, I can't tell you. I don't want to age myself, but I've had it for decades, and it's been dropped, and my gosh, they're indestructible. But then when they came along with the plug-in module that would make it a wireless, it had to be plastic so that you could transmit, and that was the weak point, as is with all wireless mics.
I wonder if they still make the old microphones that you saw on American Bandstand and Soul Train that just look like an antenna sticking out on the end of the mic.
They do. Yeah. I'm sure they do, because
they do.
Those fake microphones.
Yeah.
So, yep.
All right, Scott, how about you, sir?
Well, I have a lot of things I got before Christmas, and that's usually what happens. I ended up with some ADJ, my Pocket Pros, which I love, and of course the ADJ Airstream Bridge, which Howie has been real helpful on that, on lighting. But I would like, almost getting back to what you were talking about with a case, I would like to see something that we could roll around like we used to do when everything was 19-inch rack mountable and you just plugged it in and went, but a more modern version of it, where you don't have to tabletop everything. I wasn't used to that when that happened, and now that's pretty well what we do. We put cases up on tables and all this individual stuff that we got to pull out and plug in. All my wireless mics were all racked at one time. Everything was in the rack, but when we went to powered speakers and we changed, we lost all that. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that come about to where we wouldn't have to remove the gear or the controller. The controller could actually be mounted in, and it would be, on a stand or a rack, and you could roll it in and out and just plug the AC into it. You'd be ready to go. And
well, I will tell you, sir, that is my winter project right there.
Wow.
Now, granted, it is not going to be a case. Right. This is not something you're going to be putting into your car, but I am in the process of actually I have a metal fabricator who was a groom from a wedding I did in September. I put up on Facebook that I was looking for this, and he hit me up, and he's like, I can do this for you. And I said, okay. And so we've been talking the details, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap. That's the bad thing. But this will be a full booth. to the extent that it will have. Now, I take that back because I did something to kind of adjust it. But if you look, there's a lot of these guys that are doing TV boosts and everything else like that. So mine's going to have some of that aspect, but it's going to have a carrying compartment for my EVs, for my EV50s. It's going to have a spot for the subs. It's also going to have a spot for the top bags. And when I'm not like having gear in them, I don't have a shelf space. So when I'm like my paperwork and stuff, it's out of sight. I'm going to have an arm, laptop arm to the side. I'm going to have all my controller and everything. It's going to be wired in, and everything hooked in. So basically when I get to the event, I pull out cables, plug in, put power, and I'm done. None of this, 12,000 things on my rock and roller, rolling it in. It's all going to be on this cart. Now, the one thing I am doing to kind of help myself, and this was something a couple people threw out as ideas to me, was to make it modular. So my mics, my digital mixer, and my in-ear monitor system that I'm going to use to send for when I need to do wireless speaker sends. All that is going to be in a six space rack that will just slide in. And what I'll do is I'm going to make some connections on the back so that the mixer and anything that I have above will click into that. We'll click into the mixer and everything else. So that'll be modular. So if I go to a space that I can't wheel this in for whatever reason, I'm trying to make it ADA compliant. So it's within 30 inches. So it'll fit through all doorways. But if for some reason I just can't use it, whatever, that box will be able to be slid out, set on my rock and roller, and go into the smaller event.
Very cool.
Now, so I tell you that those things do exist. Now, I will say this also, my case, the case that I use for my 7000 currently before I built this thing, everything is pre-wired in that. I've got my 2 wireless mics. I've got my power conditioner. I don't have my wireless send. I don't have a digital mixer in there or any of that type of stuff. But I have all my ins and outs, my Show Express box, everything is in that case. But it's heavy. And that getting that up on that table, like you talked about, is why I've decided, you know what, I want to go to my own table. I don't want the facade. I don't, facades are nice. I'm not wild about them, especially the setup and tear down. That's my issue.
I do ADJ at event table. I use it at 90% of my events, depending on what they are. But I do like that. My wife likes it because she says this thing's sturdier compared to what we were using before. We were using those 4 foot tables rolled out like this. When you get a case on that thing, even at 4,000, at Denon 4,000, it's like this.
Yeah.
Even if we built something that we could set the actual case down into and we could leave it there for transport, another cover would come over top of that. You know what I mean? That way, if we needed to take that controller out, like you say, to a smaller event, we could do that. But if we could set it to where it would be set near standard, it'd be heavy. Trust me. I hauled those heavy, those 1200s around in a DJ coffin. Those aren't light. Not by far, but something similar to that. But you're probably talking in the neighborhood anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800 to probably or more to put something like that together. I'm just talking price wise. Let's get realistic.
Well, now I've got a question for you because I had the 6000. The 6000 was rack mountable.
Yeah.
And it actually had the ears and everything to make it nice and everything. Size wise, how does the 4000 compare? Do you know?
It's a little bit bigger, believe it or not.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches on either side of it. The case for the I've got a rack mountable case that I found that Odyssey built. I had it set up. I had 2 techniques on either side of it inside of flight case, and then that sat in my center, and I used that 6000. I've got the mounts on it because you have to take some stuff off to put the rack mounts on it. And unfortunately, that's one that Denon stopped making along with the 4000. But it's a hair bigger. I want to say it's almost an inch or a half inch bigger.
I have mine right here with a tape measure, and it measures 19 inches, 19 and 3/4 inches. So for 3/4 inches, you can't rack mount it.
Man.
Yeah.
3/4 of an inch wider than a rack mount. Yeah, for the 4000. Yeah.
But you know what? Here would be my idea for you, Scott, because where I was going with that is they still make the real tall, like 20 unit rack mount with a slant top on the top or whatever. So it's as tall as you are, and you can just roll it in and be playing with it. I almost wonder here within your slant rack, if the distance between the sides of that case would be wide enough that you could fit the 4000 in. And then you would just have to figure out a way to attach it. So almost like you could get maybe a couple rack space, like blank rack space fillers. All right. Mm-hmm. Put heavy duty industrial Velcro on them. Yeah. And then on the underside of the 4000 and push that down on it. I wonder if you could make that work. Because then, yeah, you have that rolling in, you have all the other stuff that you might want to put in it, and you could put umpteen drawers in it to carry whatever else you might need, all your cables, all your power, all your XLRs, everything. And you could do it. That might be something to consider. Obviously it's not perfect, but if nobody's making a case, and at this point nobody's going to make a new case for the 4000.
In fact, I think I have a Pro X case for that 4000. And then on the 6000, I have it in a slanted case that it's a tall case that Odyssey makes. Mm-hmm. It has a front that you can pull off the front of it. Mm-hmm. You can reach the controllers on it. And I had it set up when I did the vinyl session at the rink a couple of weeks ago. And I love that thing because it's standalone. It's a standalone mixer. But I was thinking about going back to the old type. They make that with, it looks like a podium. Mm-hmm. Put that rack mount, put that 6000 in it. I don't know if they still make the two tables on either side of it that you can put the 1200s on. A friend of mine had one of those.
So I've seen it with the table off to the side.
Yes.
Not on both sides.
Yeah.
Kieran, I haven't looked for that. So, you look for it, you might be able to find it. I know I've seen one where you take the front of it off and you turn it over and it turns into a table on the side. So you'd be able to do one side with it. But
see, I had one like that, but it sat on top of my amp rack. Okay. And I had snaps on the amp rack so it would lock it. So when I rolled it out to the vehicle, because I had wheels on the amp rack, I would unsnap it, push it on into the truck, and then grab the two handles and I'd lift and lean, and I was able to bring it up that way and wheel it in. Then I had a bar that went across to keep it, after I got the speakers in, to keep it from rolling. I was considering even going back to that, using the 6000, and see about even modifying the 4000, where if I wanted to pull that out and run the 4000, I could do that. Just some variations, kind of just some things that I'm thinking about that to make it easier. Because I don't know, we all went to this tabletop when the controllers, because everybody was just going in, setting up. They had their controllers in cases. Some of them did and some of them didn't. Well, that changed a lot of that. And I guess I'm looking back nostalgia wise that it was easier to come into an event, set up, and be ready to go, and not have to hook a bunch. Like now I have to put my wireless mics in place and plug them in. All that stuff before was just in there, one power. And I had a rack mountable power conditioner which lit up the entire. I mean, I could look down there, and I had two of them. In fact, I had one of them that it would keep my dual CD unit lit up. Howie knows what I'm talking about with a power conditioner. That's the best thing that sliced bread, especially when you go into a place that's. Ugh. But that's where I was going with that. I mean, that's what I was looking at.
So I'm going to give you one more food for thought, and then I want to hear JC's Christmas wish list here. So the other thought that I would have for this to help you with your so you don't have to plug and unplug and plug and unplug. You've got the ADJ event table, so you've got some space underneath the table that you could potentially utilize here. What I would consider creating or having would be a figure out the number of spaces that you would need, 4, 6, type of box, and put in it your mics, your power and everything, so that the only thing that you would have to put on the event table would be your controller and your laptop, but your controller, and then run that power down to that box. And then all of your other stuff is already done. So basically your box is ready to go. You plug your controller and the laptop into the box, and you run your stuff out to your speakers. And now you're not taking stuff out of boxes. You're not, running cords to 6, 7 different pieces of equipment. It's just, couple small things, boom, and done. That's basically the idea with that box is what I'm going with inside my mobile booth. That's going to be that modular piece. And then that way, like I said, it works out. And if you want to plug the 6,000 in it, it's running it down to that same box. If you run the 4,000, it's down to that same box. If you want to bring the techniques out, you can do all that. And those main components that are going to be at every event are in a separate box. So you don't have to plug and unplug or have like 4 or 5 different copies of the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Because you've got different equipment you want to use.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. Absolutely. JC, you're up, sir.
Well,
you've had the most time to think, so I'm expecting pure gold from you right now.
Okay, perfectly. So what I really need is to get my system lighter, no? So I will wait, ask Santa Claus for I still run passive speakers and amps, and they're very heavy, no? And I'm a single up, so I have to carry everything by myself, no? And also cars are not that big anymore, so I need to be smaller. So I would like to get portable powered speakers, no? And fortunately now we have the Evolve 50 or the Evolve 30M, no? So I wish I can have one of them, no?
Absolutely.
I'm still arguing if I need the 50 or the 30, but I think that's a big step right now for me, no? To get better sound system and lighter, no?
Absolutely. And you'd be well, I shouldn't say you'll be surprised. Obviously, if you've been looking at it, you understand.
Yeah.
They are night and day for you.
Yeah.
I will say this, that system probably is going to rival your passive speakers. But if you were to go for as far as like weight wise, but if you were going to go for other powered speakers, you're going to end up finding that they're actually heavy. I mean, that's the one thing. They're not as heavy as they used to be, but they're still not light. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the tripods have that like air assist to kind of lift up.
Yeah.
We're old.
But they fall all over the place, and you have issues like here it rains, and it's we have all the weathers and seasons in one day in Mexico City. So you start running all day long at the middle of the gig to keep them from collapsing. So I think that would be a better system for me.
Definitely.
Yeah, you'll be very happy with the Evolve 50s. Oh my gosh, I love
what
them.
You said you've been going back and forth as far as which ones to get. So what would be your average size party size that you would do? Like numbers?
I would do 150 to 250 people. So I think I will go for the Evolve 50 just in case, and I will enjoy the extra punch for for smaller parties, no?
Yeah, the 30s are nice, but you're not anything I've heard from anybody. You don't want to push them for that. You're talking the 30s are more like I don't want to misspeak, so I'm going to say 100 and under. It might be more than that, but 100 and under with the idea of just more small, intimate, or the ceremony. And again, the big selling point for the 30s is that mixer on the back. So if you don't need the mixer on the back, it might be better off, just especially because you can always turn it down. You can't always turn it up.
Yeah, right. and I can only afford one, so I have to be very careful with that. Yes, I don't like to have a lot of gear around, so I really want to get the right one. So I think I'm gonna go for sure for the 50. No?
Yeah, I will say this. If you can only afford one, it might be a good idea to pick up one when you can. You're not going to be able to do 150 to 200 people with one.
No, one pair, no?
Oh, okay, one pair. Okay.
Yeah, one pair.
Okay.
That one pair, because I have seen that many DJs have the 30 and then the 50 also, no?
Yeah, I've seen some people, or even a set of each for different applications.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Ideally, if you have the room and you have the money, and both of those are if we all had $1 million and 80,000 square foot mansions, we could have whatever we wanted.
That's what I should have asked from Santa.
You could have also asked for more wishes. Oh wait, that's genies, not Santa. So, but no, I mean, obviously, if you had the space, you have different sets for different applications, and that's the thing. But I think you'll be very happy, and anybody who has them. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk negatively about them who actually has them. That's the thing. I've heard some people say, "Oh, I prefer this," and they go this direction, like an RCF version. I don't know, J-Box maybe is the style, like Evolve.
Yeah, you'll have tribalism in anything, but I've never heard anything bad about the Evolve 50s.
No,
I mean, and I've worked with them a lot, and I've done 200 people with Jimmy with his pair, and oh my goodness, I was pleasantly surprised. I walked around with my sound meter throughout. It was actually like a junior high school basketball court sized venue. And I went around, searching for dead spots, and I couldn't find a dead spot. And it was a nice hot dance floor. People loved it. The people in the back, you could have a conversation at the tables. They're the next best thing to the perfect speaker, in my opinion.
I did have one issue with mine one time. I was doing a middle school dance, and it was for my middle school, and so I wasn't bringing it out on my system. Half the time I connect into the one that they're using because it's a cafetorium. And so a lot of times I'll just plug into their stuff. But the last time I had done it, it was all distorted. And I was like, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to bring my own. I know what I can do. And I got in there and I was like, it's not a huge room. It's got high ceiling. And I'm up on a stage.
Oh, okay.
And I got out. I went about halfway out and I was like, man, the sound like went down.
Really?
Like it would like up on stage. I'm like, this is loud. This is working. I get out there and I'm like, whew. Where'd all the sound go? And I think because it's a cafetorium, there's some deadeners that are put around, especially in the ceiling, that it just killed the sound right off. I was so underpowered for what I needed for there.
Now, when you say cafetorium, it's a multi-purpose.
Basically, yeah, it's a cafeteria, for lunch periods. It's an auditorium when they need it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So it's not like I was a little confused. Like it's a crematorium one day and then you eat there the next day. I'm like, whoa, that's weird.
No. Sorry, that's a term that we use it, and a lot of our schools in the area use it. Multi-purpose room would be a kind of similar idea, probably a little bit more commonplace. But
Dan's trying to say it's got a stage on one side and the cafeteria. You got the cafeteria part on the other.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just thought I'd throw a little levity in there.
It'd be a little scary, I think. Just a little. A little scary to have that attached to a school, let alone anything else. Let alone
the Jeffrey Dahmer cafetorium.
Oh my goodness. Oh my. All right, so we've got a few more minutes, and since nobody else has been jumping in, I don't, you know, I wasn't supposed to be watching a chat room or anything, like to not chat room, but like participants to let anybody in. Was no. Okay. So here's what I would like to throw out. So we've talked about that ideal piece. All right, that ideal piece. And so my kind of flip side to this, and some of you have already kind of hit on this. I want you to think back to this past year. And I want you to either, and this could be gear related or otherwise, I want you to pick out the one purchase that you made that what you think has been the best for your business. Now, here's the tricky part. This could be, because we haven't done a lot of events and some of us haven't done any, this could be what you think is going to be the best for your events when they start up again. All right. Or if you've had the flexibility to have events, what has been that piece? So, purchase, it could be gear, it could be training, it could be a membership. I'd like it to be DJ related in some form or fashion. So if you went out and took an improv class, I'll count it, but that's a little off from where I'm talking about. Okay. So, I don't even know where I'm going to go with this one, because this was my back pocket question in case things went really quick or we didn't. So, I got to think for a second here. So,
but
okay.
I can go if you want to.
Yes. All right. Perfect. JC's already. Go for it, man.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I found out that when I started ripping my CDs collections, the highest is the bitrate rate was 192.
Okay.
And I have a lot of music in 192. So what I'm doing in this past month is re-ripping all my collections in 320. No?
Awesome.
Smart.
Great idea.
Smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, Howie, in all fairness, it's not like he said it was 128.
Well, yeah, that would have been.
That would have been me. Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, it's amazing how that much makes a big impact, and
it does.
The average person isn't going to tell a difference, but when you start listening to the tracks that you've played before, now ripped at that new now ripped at that new level, you're going to go, ooh, that sounds better. Like
I didn't know there was a flute in that song. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
I like it.
Scott?
I would have to go back to my ADJ, my Airstream bridge.
Mm-hmm.
A great investment gear-wise for me this year. I've been able to have control of my DMX lighting. I want to say consolidated, into using one device for it and digitally. I mean, without having to worry about taking this Obey 40 with me that takes up real estate. I mean, let's face it, your iPad doesn't take up near what that takes. That's 19 inches. That's a 19-inch rack mountable device that you're taking with you. So I really have to say that, along with streamlining our photo booth, which we did at the very beginning of before the pandemic came out, which incidentally, I have had at one event, and that's all we've had it at this year. I've been really fortunate that I did have it at a wedding this year. So that's where I pretty well would say kind of sums up, what I have done to make 2020 better was, for me anyway, is that. So
nice.
That as well.
Good.
And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot on the DMX stuff I didn't know. So
it's amazing. It's amazing when you get into it, and especially when you get into it, I would say on the digital level.
Yes.
because I had some basic understanding because on the analog style, I guess is what we can call it, with like the Obey 40s and those,
Right.
because they're, you know, the sliders, it's like, okay, it's like audio, you know, I can understand a slider and how that works. And when you go digital, it's like, oh, I can layer this, and I can make it do this, and I can make it do this when I push this button, and do this when it does this button. And I didn't really have to do anything but push a button.
And I'm still work in progress with it. It's still, oof.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, you could spend the next, you know, year solid, and there's so many things that you wouldn't unlock until, you know, year 2 or 3 once you really get good playing with it. So, no, that's awesome, awesome. All right, Joel.
I picked up a slightly used pair of RCF Evox 8 speakers from a gentleman who was cleaning out some of his gear. They were 2 to 3 years old and in fantastic shape. And I was highly impressed with the sound quality, and it's made me more flexible now. I don't have to rent speakers, so I can do last minute gigs if somebody calls me. And I used them in a bar one night, and I was impressed that the dance floor on one end of the bar, I was at the other end of the bar and had the entire bar between me and the dance floor, and I could still hear the sound crystal clear. So that's something I think will serve me well over the next couple of years. I think they'll last quite a few years.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I picked them up from a DJ who was very good on his equipment and full-time DJ, and had taken quite good care of them, and I got a good deal out of it.
Nice. Yeah, they're ones. They're another, like I was saying when we kept talking about the EV, the RCF. They're one of those sets that's really nice. There's so many. They have a good quality sound, and exactly like you said, that nice. There's a punch to it, but yet there's a send. There's a good high send that doesn't get muddled down. So yeah,
I've done a room big enough to get them above the 12 o'clock position yet. I had them barely to the like 12:30 position one time, but I still got, you know, a lot more headroom available.
Awesome. Howie, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I couldn't decide between the two, but I think I'm going to go with the one that not only benefited me, but it benefited someone else. And I had a friend that was in the sound and lighting business that passed away, and his widow offered me. These were only used 3 times. This is the Airstream DMX. This is the Wi-Fi EXR, so I can have wireless throughout a large area. It also came with, so now I have 2 of the Airstream bridges as well, the Airstream bridge and the Wi-Fi's. So I wound up with 8 of them in a Pelican flight case. And she really didn't know what was going on. And I wound up, somebody offered her 300, and I said, no. I said, I'll give you 500, you know, which was, you know, pretty close to what I could have bought it new or got it on sale. But she had bills to pay. Her husband just died. So I felt good helping her out, but it helped me out too, because these things all went out to Vegas. When I programmed the light show here where I'm sitting right now, I knew that I'm not running hundreds of feet of DMX cable, because all I had to do was hook a string of lights or a mover to one of these, you know, and well, anybody that was there saw that we plugged it in, we lit it up, and it worked just like we planned it. And the most impressive part was when we broke down. I don't know, were you there for the breakdown? It took us 2 days, and it was something like 14 hours or something to set up because the staging. Well, we had so many people come in to help. We actually broke down, cleared the room, had the trucks loaded. I had my carry-on baggage loaded with all the gear in 45 minutes. It was amazing. The people were wonderful. And the nice thing was I got through TSA with these because I took the lithium batteries out because they will work with the wall warts. And I knew that, hey, I have to plug the movers in anyway. So I had a small little black cube and I plugged in, the wall wart and the movers. And, we had a very, very, very nice look. And so, yeah, I'll pick these as my best for helping someone else and also helping everyone else and myself. Now I have them for future use as well. Nice. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give a plug. I'm gonna give a plug here for what I decided to do. So I am a Crate Hacker member. For those of you that are not familiar with that one, Aaron Taylor out of Nashville, Tennessee. He started something through Joe Bunn and got it going with that. And basically it's, I got it because my organization system just was not working for me. I would sit there with thousands of songs in one folder and trying to scroll through them when I'm at an event. And then I end up doing this, like the whole time, like the event, everything's happening over there. And I'm still looking for the next song. It's like, I know what I want. I know the feel I want. I just don't know the name to do like a quick search. So I'm like, and so, I bought Nick Spinelli's like crate list, that he put out like the beginning of the year. But when the Crate Hacker thing came about, it was different. I knew it was going to have a different feel to it. So I bought into that, at least for on the month type of schedule. And, very, very similar to JC. I went back through all my CDs and I started re-ripping because I had a lot of them that were at 192 or even a couple that were at like 256, which not bad. I mean, that was still a lot better than that. But I even had some that were at 128, like stuff that I had gotten when I first started getting into it and ripped them the first time, when hard drive space was like impossible to come by without spending a fortune. And 128 was okay. So I went back through and I was re-ripping everything and slicing and dicing and getting things cleaned up. And, it's just made things so much nicer and so much cleaner. And it's so much that I can now go, okay, I'm going to go in this direction or I'm going to go in that direction. And I drop into a folder that has that. And it might have 200 songs in it, but it doesn't have 3,000 songs in it. So scrolling through it becomes a lot easier. So if that's something you guys are interested in, obviously, I didn't get anything from them for this. But if you're looking for a way to reorganize your music, that would be.
Is it a system or is it a app or what is it?
So it neither. It's a group, for lack of better terms, that you buy a membership into, and within there, you get access to their lists of different crates. So you'll get, when you buy into it, you get all of Joe Bunn's crate list. So like all how he has it organized, and then all the songs that fit into those and fit into his folders. And you'll get the same for Aaron. You can buy extra to get ones that Jason Jani puts out. Now, there's another direction that they go with it that I don't really care for, other than to play around at home. They actually will have it so that you can also, how is it? So they'll give you a playlist, basically, of an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's harmonically matched. So you're getting the good vibe. You're not throwing two things together that shouldn't go together. You're also creating an ebb and flow when it comes to energy. So you don't have two things, like one real high energy and one dead. Like you're going to have the nice smooth transition with that. And so that's that. So it makes it kind of nice. They've got some ties with some record companies that are not record companies, but with some record pools that I'm not associated with, but if you are, you can click on their link and their list that they give you, and it will take you to the file to where you could then download it if you had that membership in that record pool. So there's a lot of things like that, some extra pieces, and then there's other tie-ins with Record Cloud, which is not Record Box, but it's spelled very similar. That helps analyze your tracks and helps you get organized with those kind of things. And all those things are extra money, and that's part of the reason why, especially during this year, I'm just like, no, I'm just getting in there for the knowledge and helping clean up what I have. So that's more the setup of what it is. Again, an idea of how to organize, how to clean up your systems, and you talked about a process. There is a process. So when you buy into it, there's like a PDF or something like that they send you that says, okay, if you're going to start getting your stuff cleaned up, this is like the order that you'd want to go. And gives you kind of a step-by-step on how to do that. And one of the things is, I mean, how many of us have multiple duplicates in their system? And it starts out with a way to really kind of like narrow that down and eliminate any duplicates. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's flaws in everything, but it's
sure.
Yeah. Not a slam against Joe Bond, but I thought it was very interesting when I got his list and I'm going through and I'm like, okay, I'm going to create some like him and everything else. I created some, and he'd have like the same artist in there like twice, or like the same song by the same artist in there like 2 or 3 times, but it was labeled slightly different. So it was showing up different. And I was like, oh, so I'm not the only one who has duplicates that way.
Yeah.
You buy it from one company and they've got like the BPM up front. All right. One record pool, they got the BPM up front. And then the other one has the Black Eyed Peas. And then another one just has Black Eyed Peas. So you get like 3 different versions of the same song that are basically all the same, literally the same song, and nothing, but it doesn't trigger because it's, one's where the numbers are, one's where the B's are, one's where the T's are.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man. Like my hard drive probably has a good 500 megabytes, if not more, of that situation. But I would say though, I would say that's probably that was my purchase this year, other than my booth, but that I don't count that yet because it's not here yet. I haven't actually paid anything for it yet. So,
all right,
yeah, awesome. Well, guys, I think on this note, I'm gonna bring our time of this to a close. And if you guys are checking this out later, don't forget, you guys can join the chill room too. This is not just a thing that we do on Monday nights, but it's always available. It starts at like 10:30, 10 o'clock, depending on what's going on with the other shows. And you can come out and hang out with these guys and many more that come in and just have some fun, relax, talk about silly stuff like, what should Santa bring you, to something that may be a little bit more serious, like how do I deal with this situation, or what have you guys really run into this, and actually have conversations, face-to-face, digitally conversations that are going to mean so much more to you, and friendships that are going to be there. I cannot say enough about this chill room. You guys are awesome. So thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who's tuning in to this after the effect. And maybe you got an idea of something you want to have Santa bring you as well. Either way, have yourself a great night. Thanks.